First at the top, a bit of a joke, and then a bit later, Donald Trump addressing the big controversy out of last night's final presidential debate, when he said he was not sure if he would accept the results of the election. At the top of his remarks, joking a bit, Trump said, "I will of course accept them if I win." Later in his remarks, well, let's just listen. First, let's listen to the very beginning when Donald Trump tried to make light of a controversy that has a lot of Republicans mad at him.
I would like to promise and pledge to all of my voters and supporters and to all of the people of the United States that I will totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win.
Clever line there. It would be funny if, and it is a little bit funny, amusing, but if not for the controversy stoked last night that has Republicans across the spectrum, including some Trump supporters and most of the non-Trump Republicans, saying you can't do that. You can't essentially assault and question America's democracy. We'll turn the sound in a minute. A bit later, he did say if there's a clear election result, I will accept it. But of course, I'm going to keep available any legal recourse, recount recourse, court recourse, in case you get a 2000-like election, Bush v. Gore. Clearly, they woke up this morning in the Trump campaign and realized they needed to fix this.
I'm not even sure if it was this morning. I think it was in real time last night because you saw them trying to. But he could have answered that last night. That would have been a good sort of way to say it. The parallels to 2000 are entirely different, as we've said earlier. I mean, predicting it in advance versus if something happens. But as things are going now, unless something massively changes here, this is not going to be decided on a couple votes here. But I think, he did clean this up. It'll probably be a little bit more Zantac for some Republicans out there, but, perhaps too little too late.
But it says progress. He's now in line with his surrogates. So last night, they all were out of line with what he actually said, and now everyone's on the same page.
All before lunchtime.
But I do think, this kind of thing is going to come down to a candidate's judgment and his aide's judgment on election night. And we saw that with Mitt Romney in 2012 when they had planes ready to go out to battleground states. And it was the candidate who said, this isn't going to happen. Like, we're not going to take this extra step. We're going to go out there. I'm going to give my concession speech and we're going to move on. And at a certain point, you have to trust that if that is a scenario, that Donald Trump would make the same move. And
it's interesting listening to him reading this. Donald Trump didn't say, this came up last night and I didn't answer it just right, or I didn't, fully get. He doesn't try to explain. Here's what I said before, and I'm sorry, or I didn't get it right, or I didn't get the context right. He just says, here's my new position, take it.
Donald Trump has not apologized for even something minor like this, where a cleanup would involve exactly what you said. Hey, look, I didn't say it exactly right. Here's what I meant. He's not that type of person. When parties get towards Election Day, everybody has planes on the ground ready to go to battleground states. The Senate Democrats and Senate Republicans will, to go to whatever close Senate race is in the balance. The House Democrats, House Republicans will. Just because he says he will accept an election result doesn't mean there's no implicit statement there that he won't make whatever legal challenges are legitimately available to him. But there's a larger point here that 7 Republican secretaries of state from around the country have called these kinds of comments irresponsible. That was just over the last Monday and Tuesday. I haven't checked in the last 24 hours or so if anybody else has. But the fact is, questioning the integrity of American elections undermines the very foundation of the thing that we've been relying on for 224 years.
And let's quickly, because words matter in a situation. Last night he said he wanted to keep the suspense open. Let's listen to exactly what Donald Trump said when he just came out in, again, Delaware, Ohio, and tried to clean it up.
I would accept a clear election result, but I would also reserve my right to contest or file a legal challenge in the case of a questionable result.
Let me ask this final question. We have about 20 seconds in this context. Last night's debate was dominated by this. Now today, 19 days before the election, will be dominated by Donald Trump's cleanup, not about doing the business of trying to win the election, correct?
No doubt about it. And meantime, early voting starting in North Carolina today, in-person early voting. That's the issue here. So many ballots being cast as we speak.
And?
Literally millions of people have already voted in this election.
Yeah,
those are the diehard partisans. The people who are just starting to vote now or who will be voting on Election Day are the people who are undecided. Those are the folks who were watching last night looking for a candidate to be behind.